Following your passion is a vain pursuit. It's something that can never be obtained. There are aspects of life, outcomes of life that are deterministic, but along the path of those outcomes involve a lot of capricious events that alter the trajectory of that outcome. And when we're younger, we're more optimistic because we've had less experience of failing over and over, and the boot of life pressing against our necks. The weight of it isn't as heavy when you're younger. And the older you get, the less optimistic, the less lively, the more pessimistic or realistic you start to look at life. When you're younger, life is looked through with rose-tinted glasses. You think you can do anything you want. Even though you don't know how you're gonna get there, you believe that anything can be obtained. And then, life happens. You get a wife, you get a kid. You get older. Just things happen, And our dreams, most people's dreams, can never be a reality. I was always a creative kid, and I always wanted to do something creative occupationally. I've pursued that endeavor relentlessly for the last several years, even in spite of, at the sacrifice of pragmatism for my family, which has caused a lot of turbulence and inner distress within my life that I take accountability for. And I'm now at a point in life where I am chasing pragmatism over idealism. Because the way society is structured, idealistic pursuits can never be obtained because they're not monetarily practical. The arbiter of success in 2025 is money. If you can even get money. And the barrier for how much money you're able to obtain is becoming, higher and higher and higher. There is no going to live on Walden Pond and building your own log cabin and sitting in your quiet little nook and reading books and writing about nature. The barrier to that kind of life has become insurmountable. Everything costs money. Society has done an excellent job of detaching us so far from our natural reality that we have become so dependent on a faceless monetary system that dictates every decision of our lives. Like you have to have money to live. There's no going into the woods and hunting for your own food and growing your own vegetables and building your own home. And if you have the skills to do that, and more power to you, but even then, to get the land to be able to do that requires money. And like I said before, I've lived my life in a state of idealism where I've had this delusional expectations of how my life should be vocationally. And what I realized is that following your passion is the same thing as chasing happiness. It's a vain pursuit. It can never be obtained. Because passion, like happiness, is a fleeting emotion. As soon as you get a moment of happiness, you're chasing for the next hit. It's like when you were a kid and you would get a little mason jar and try to catch fireflies. They're always out of grasp, out of reach. They can never be obtained. And if you do grab them, you do catch one, you have to let it go eventually. The only thing that matters now, unfortunately, is your monetary success. That is how valuable you are to the marketplace, to society, to your wife, to your peers. It determines how much respect you're given. It determines how healthy you can be. It determines your quality of life. Because living in destitution for the sake of autonomy and creativity and independence isn't as glamorous as it may sound. It's initially and theoretically it's a noble pursuit to say fuck society. I'm just gonna go live in the middle of the woods and not work a job like a monk and just not contribute. It can't work like that, especially in someone in my position that has responsibilities and obligations. I'm starting college again soon, online, using my military benefits to pay for it. Engineering. Do I have a mind for engineering? Do I have an inclination towards engineering? Initially, no. In an idealistic world, no. But we don't live in an idealistic world. We live in solipsism. We live in a materialistic world that the only way that you can achieve anything is fake fiat dollars on a screen. The more numbers on a screen you have, the more better off you will be. Until it all crashes eventually. But I have to wake up tomorrow like it's still gonna be there. I have to spin the social, I have to be the cog in the social machine. I have to keep spinning the wheel. I have to keep being the rat on the wheel, the hamster on the wheel. I have to keep participating. There's no choice. Any sort of creative endeavor that I may have an inclination towards, it has to be done out of my own time, because the success of something creative is capricious. There's a lot of different variables that play into the equation that determine whether you succeed or not. Like, this video could get 1 million views or it can get 5 views. It's random. I could write in a newsletter or something and it could be seen by 10,000 people or 5 people. I could win the lottery. It's a creative endeavor is like winning the is like scratching off a lottery ticket. The success of it is random, unfortunately. And you have to play the cards the best. You have to play the cards you're dealt the best you can. And our dreams and desires and ambitions of what we may want to do in our life, and certain skill sets we have an inclination towards, sometimes what we're more drawn to isn't respected, is worthless, because the dollar is all that matters. I wish it wasn't that way. I'm not saying I'm some fucking socialist who, wants to get, UBI and just, live a degenerate life and, not do anything, not contribute or anything like that. But hell, they're making life so suffocatingly difficult. Everyone's going to be so destitute where they're going to be begging for UBI. That's what they want. So I don't even know where I was going with this video. Following your passion is bullshit. It's never, if you're able to succeed at something you're passionate about, then kudos to you. You're one of a million. A lot of it, there's some determinism that plays into it, but there's a lot of capricious events that alter the trajectory of your outcome in your pursuit. And mathematically, you just have to go with the route that has the highest odds of monetary success. Because we no longer live in a world that we can create ourselves, but we are chained to the monetary system. So we have to buy our freedom. That's the world we live in now. That's all I got. If you like this video, subscribe, like, all that YouTube stuff. I realized the video probably wasn't very good, but hey, I'm new at this, so I'll see you on the next one. Peace.